Hey friends, welcome back to Rewildology, where we explore conservation, travel, and rewilding the planet. I'm your host, Brooke Mitchell-Norman, conservation biologist and world traveler. On today's show, we're traveling back to the Galapagos Islands to hear part 2 of my conversation with Josy Cardoso. We chat about a very interesting citizen science project she recently joined as a team lead called Barcode Galapagos, why the Galapagos Islands are so special and should be on every nature lover's bucket list, and how we can all do our part to protect and restore nature. This whole conversation has me thinking that maybe once the time is right, we should get a group of us from the Rewildology community to go. What do you all think? I am dying for any excuse to go back, and bringing a super fun group of all of you with me sounds like a freaking blast. I'll just let that idea sit and grow, but seriously, if that does sound fun to you, reach out on Instagram or email me at hello@rewildology.com. Lastly, if you're liking the show so far, please subscribe and share wherever you're listening. Sharing is the best way to help the show grow, and I promise to continue bringing on fascinating guests and sharing their inspiring stories. And now, on to part 2 with Josy. When you and I were texting the other day, you were talking about Galapagos Barcode. What exactly is that? And what is your role with them? And yeah, let's just I would really love to hear more about that project.
Yeah, actually, that's a project run by the University, San Francisco University in the mainland, and is one of the most ambitious projects here in Ecuador with citizen science. And this university, realizing the need of Galapagos, right? That most of us, we were unemployed because I would say 90% of the guides were freelance. So no guests, no trips, no work, basically. They decided to put together this project that was already, for sure they were already thinking a couple of years ago of doing it. And they say, okay, we're going to get some grants, some fundings. So they were lucky enough to get this money in order to get the project running at COVID time, because it's how they can contribute with the people, giving them income in time that no one has a job, right? So in that case, they did, they say, okay, we need 50 people, and we prefer to be guides, fishermen, and people that works in agriculture. So all these 3 type of people, we were able to apply in order to help this project that is the Galapagos Barcode. So what we want to do is to barcode all the species that we have here on the islands.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. If we have 4,000 species, we're going to do the barcoding of those 4,000 species. But for sure, there are more,
Yeah.
And you had team leaders, field assistants, lab assistants, and you have this other group of people that I really don't know the name in English, but it's people that is going to be doing the interviews.
Okay, so interviewers, that's fine.
Interviewers, yeah. We applied about 500 people, and it was only a spot for 50 of us. I was lucky enough to get it. I applied as a team leader, and we started at the beginning of December. That's where we started, and it's going to last for 9 months. This project, we started December, with the conference, because we need to learn. I mean, you didn't need to have previous experience in order to qualify, because then if they were going to require that, the amount of people was going to narrow, right? And what they wanted to do is help as many people as they wanted. So some of us have already some experience. Some of us have nothing of experience working on a lab, for example. So we had December has been a full time of conferences, different sorts, what this project wants, all the different stages that we're going to go through, the new equipment that we're going to get. And we need to get paperwork from each one of us that is going to be involved in the project. And right now, the next part is going to be looking of the samples of animals or plants or organisms that have been already collected. And from there, you're going to get the sample in order to get the genetic information and do the barcoding. And right now with technology, I'm learning. I'm so amazed of how technology works in favor of these projects, right? Before, you need to have thousands and thousands of dollars, and they were huge machines where you needed in order to get the DNA information of a species. Right now, there are these little machines that fit on your pocket, right? That are not that expensive, and you can transport it very easily. So right now, the equipment is arriving to San Cristobal Island, and from there, they're going to send part of the equipment here. And it's the project, imagine, it's 50 people that were spread on 3 different islands, Isabela, San Cristobal, and Santa Cruz. We have to have a high level of communication because all of us were a team. Some of us, we don't know each other. And we have all the assistants, field assistants, all the lab assistants, and the interviewers. So that's what now I'm involved. It has been a great learning opportunity. One of our biggest works or homeworks was to get into the gene bank website and get the genetic information of some specific genes of organisms that are here. So we had to analyze about 3,000 organisms from, lichens, fungus, insects, vertebrates. Some of them had so much information, some of them plants, non-information at all. So that's what we're doing. And right now we're starting our 3rd month. It's going to be interesting. We don't know what's ahead. Every month we have a specific thing to do. And that's what we're doing. But it's going to be great. 50 people working on a citizen science project that's run by a university they have also alliances with other universities.
That's so exciting. Oh my gosh. And so I had like a million questions pop in my brain just as my, scientist brain is just going off right now. So are the species that you're collecting, are they all land species, or is there going to be effort going underwater? Because I'm sure that is a whole different ballgame. If we're going to start diving and trying to get the species, I mean, there's so much biodiversity around the islands. So where are they starting? What's the goal to start with? And is it going to continue growing?
That's actually, that's why we need the fishermen, because it goes underwater as well. So for what they have told us, first we're going to, of course, because going out in the field means money. And of course, there is not that much money to do field trips, but there is a lot of species already collected from land and from the ocean. So, and if we need a specific one, then the project will get all the permits, will join also other projects that are running, because that's easier and it's more efficient in time to join a scientist that has already the permits to collect a specific species than you starting the whole thing in order to collect a specific species. So it's land and it's ocean. Imagine how many species are going to be there.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. And with these little devices that fit on your pocket, it's incredible.
I mean, 50 people doesn't even sound like enough. I mean, with how many things we saw in 10 days. That's incredible. 9 months. That's ambitious. I mean, that's exciting. Like, fingers crossed with everybody doing their part that you catalog as many as possible. That'll be amazing.
Yeah. I guess some species are already cataloged, so that's an advantage. But the ones that are not cataloged and don't have the barcoding, then we'll have to do it. I'm in the learning process. I've never been on a lab. I didn't study genetics, so that's an important part of this project, that you are learning. It's like, I've been paid to learn. What a great
That's
deal.
awesome.
Well, of course, we do it with a lot of responsibility. We like all these 2 months paperwork that it's needed that you have to collect from the other assistants and lead people that you don't know. Well, here in town, we kind of know each other, but we've never worked with them, in these specific things. So working with 4 or 5 people that you are in charge, that they are part of the team, because each one of us, it's a different world. Maybe what responsibility means for me doesn't mean the same to you, but getting to the same level that we all have to finish by this date, we all have to give the best that we have in order for the end, as we say with the other team leaders here, because we're 5 team leaders in Santa Cruz, we're going to be the best team. We're competitive. We're going to win the other 2 islands. So far, we've done it because we have all, turned in our homeworks early or right on time.
That's so you. I'm not surprised at all. You're a team lead. It's like Team Santa Cruz. That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's actually bring it up a level a little bit, since I'm a biologist. I've been to the islands. I know how amazing they are. But could you, for anybody who really isn't, versed in the Galapagos, can you explain why they're so unique, why they're so incredible, and the very strong conservation program that the government has around it? So if you wouldn't mind just giving a little history of the islands, just so that we're all up to speed on why they're amazing.
Great. So I'll try to do a long story short, because here we can talk about 3 hours of all these things. So basically, Galapagos is part of Ecuador, right? The islands were discovered in 1535 by the Spaniards by mistake. The islands were visited by pirates, buccaneers, whalers, sealers, sailors. But the islands, according to these people, they were held on Earth, which is great. I cannot complain, because thanks to that, now we're part of Ecuador. Yeah. It was hell on Earth. There was no food, no water. It was just lava rocks, heat. So no one cared about the islands. The islands were a hiding spot at that time, because, whalers were fighting among each other. Then the pirates and the buccaneers were trying to steal the gold from the Spaniards that were stealing the gold from mainland Ecuador and from other countries. So it was a perfect hiding spot. And the few food supply that they found here were giant tortoises. And at that time, they collected giant tortoises, put them on the boats. And as a reptile, giant tortoises can live several months without water or food. So what a great deal. You are in those boats of these pirates, buccaneers for years and years at the ocean. And you have an animal that do not need food or water to survive. And you can kill it at any time and have fresh meat. And then they took tortoises with them, and they left introduced animals like rats, later on pigs, goats. And then 1832, Ecuador claimed the islands, became part of Ecuador. Ecuador encouraged people to come and live here. Then 1835, Charles Darwin passed by the Galapagos, right? Thanks God it was after they were already part of Ecuador.
Yes.
And he realizes, because otherwise we'll be part of another country. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah. Colonized in some way, shape, or form by some power.
Exactly. So 3 years later, after they were declared part of Ecuador, Charles Darwin passed by, and he realizes that the islands, each one, because he visited some of the islands in a very short time that he was here, realized that each one has a different ecosystem. He saw the same birds, but they still, being the same bird, were different. Tortoises were different. So then, after, he passed by, he realized that he collected a lot of samples of animals. And later on, he developed his theory of natural selection, right? Adaptive radiation by natural selection. And more people was coming to live to the islands. We still have scientific expeditions passing by, and that's why the islands became famous also. More Ecuadorians encouraged by the government to come and live here. So basically, we had a late colonization here on the islands. And that's why we have all the wildlife that we have until nowadays. Then the national park was created in the 50s, late 50s. They declared this national park. And imagine this, Brooke, 97% of the islands is national park. And 3% is where we can live, where we have our homes, we have our businesses, we have our farms, 3%. So that number is very, very important. 97%, no, we cannot do anything in it. That's protected. That's where the animals, plants are happy doing all what they need to do. And then, of course, it was declared human heritage after it was declared national park. And since that time, the conservation efforts started. We had a scientist visiting us and realizing how special the islands are in terms of the adaptation process that the animals are able to get here and the changes that the animal gets in order to survive and to cope with the environment that they happen to be living in it. So that's why we have unique animals. Like, where are you going to see the Galapagos penguin? Only the Galapagos. And it's the penguin that lives closer to the equator line, where it's hot. What is that penguin doing here? Then we have the giant tortoises. They're unique to the islands. We have the flightless cormorant that lost the ability of flying, arrived to the Galapagos flying, and years and years and years passed by and lost the ability of flying because they decided that it was a lot more food available in the ocean and they didn't have that many predators, So we have a flightless cormorant, and we have the Darwin Finches, right? The famous Darwin Finches, that little bird that caused a huge commotion in our on our world. That Charles Darwin studied it very, very well. So how the finches occupied a different niche, and in order to be successful in that niche, they have special features, right, in their beak. They specialize in eating the different food in order not to compete with each other. Then we have the mockingbirds that are unique to here, lava lizards. We have the Galapagos sea lions. And then you see how the animals change it. Closer they get to the equator, for penguins and sea lions, the animal itself, in order to cope better with the heat, they reduce size, right? Well, the exception is the giant tortoises, that they became giant because of availability of food and no predators. But yeah, we have this process of adaptation, of evolution. You can call it however you want according to your religion. We don't discuss that here, but how they adapted in order to be successful. And how later on we had in the 70s, tourism started here on the islands. But since the very beginning, tourism has been very, very regulated. You've been lucky, I've been lucky to travel the world, right, and to explore other national parks. And for me, so far, Galapagos is one of the most regulated archipelagos in the world. Agreed. We have so many rules to follow. The boat has to have a license in order to be able to navigate around the islands. You need to have a guide. Within the 97%, we have the trails where we can visit. We have trails to follow. You cannot go outside of the trail. You cannot take food to the islands. We have a time frame where we can visit the islands. The national park tells us the activities that we can do in each place. And one of the most amazing things is how we manage the capacity of each place, the carrying capacity. So we want to have that many groups at the same time without bothering each other. So we will avoid definitely being, Disney World or other national parks that have so many people in it. Like, I remember going to Iceland. It was dozens of people next to me in my way to get the photo of waterfall number 10,000, 10,000 waterfalls. Everybody wants to see the same waterfall, right? How many photos you can take of the same water, of a waterfall? Yeah. And counting, right? Waterfall number 1,500. Yeah. So here we don't want that. Here we want to feel like you as a group are alone. And we've been successful in order to manage that. So that's why daily tour boats, cruise boats have times and have itineraries. So you don't go wherever you feel like to go that day. No, you go where the national park told you to go. And in that way, you have 4 or 5 boats around you. That means 4 or 5 groups. And then the guides know each other, and they know, for example, us or me, I like to wake up early. So whenever they know I'm on a boat, I'm going to be the first one going on the islands at 6 o'clock because, I like the sunrise, or because we have people that likes photos. And then another guide is going to disembark half an hour or an hour after I do. Sometimes it's a loop. So one guy goes by the right, the other one goes by the left. You never feel like you are in a traffic jam while you're exploring the islands. And so all those regulations have made the Galapagos to be successful in terms of how we manage tourism. It doesn't feel crowded, and animals are there. For sure, you experience that we have a rule of 2 meters distance, 6 feet distance, and no touching the animals and no collecting organic material. And the animals do not run away. They know we are not chasing them. They know we're not touching them. They know we're not eating them, right? So they have no fear of humans passing and visiting their home, basically, right? Because we are visiting their home. That's something that we always have to keep in mind. And they are tame, fearless, friendly, I don't know, call it however you want to call it. But they are there. The only part of the world that they will post for your photos. And you don't need to be an expert National Geographic photographer in order to get the National Geographic shot, right? Here on the islands. So that's what Galapagos is, right? It's the place where you still see that bonding between nature and humans, where nature means animals are not scared of you, right? Or swimming with the lions and they come and kiss your mask, or the penguin comes and look at you, or flyless cormorants, where they know you are another creature, a weird creature for sure. They all look at us, that is swimming in their area. But yeah, that's how Galapagos is. So for me, Galapagos is magical. It's a magical place.
It's pure magic.
Yeah, it's magical. And how much Galapagos give us in one single trip, I think no other trips have been able to give me yet what Galapagos. I haven't been in Botswana. Maybe Botswana will match, or in where you were in Kenya.
Botswana's very special. So
yeah, I think they will be competing very closely.
You will be mind blown when you finally get there.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. Yeah, all the regulations that we have, right? The guides we need to submit a report at the end of the trip, not even to the company that you work, because the companies are the ones that hire you, the private companies. But you need to submit a report to the National Park Institution, that is the government, telling them, which boat you were, how many people, and if you found things around, if you found trash, if the trail is not good, if there is too many people, which, well, that doesn't happen, if other boats were following the rules. So here we have a system of guides watching each other. And that's why we follow the regulations, right? We take care of each other, or we control each other. That's why when some guest says, no, but what about if I can go outside of the trail? No, because there is another guide that is going to be behind me, maybe watching you are going outside of the trail. They are going to report that, and I'm going to lose my job. And also we are there controlling that the fishermen are doing their fishing in the areas that they can. Or we are there in order to control or to be there. So illegal fishing activities from people from other countries are not doing in our marine reserve. So that's how we manage tourism here, right? Guides are part of the chain. Fishermen, our local fishermen, are also watching that international fishermen or Ecuadorian fishermen are not coming into their marine reserve to use the areas that they are only allowed to use. So tourism has become a very important part for conservation here on the islands. Due to tourism, we have all the boats moving around and we have more eyes in the field. So that's very important. And that's, so something that we don't realize, because people says, well, if Galapagos is so special, why you don't close Galapagos and you leave it with no one, so no one can hurt Galapagos? And I say, but that's not the point. I think you're going to have an impact. Yes, that's for sure. I mean, we cannot lie to ourselves, but you have to reduce the impact as much as possible. And how would you like people to get awareness or to take care of places if they don't know the places? There is a lot of kids that come here in family departures that they're in contact with the wildlife. And at the end of the trip, they usually say, Josy, I want to be a biologist, or I want to do a sort of job that involves taking care of nature, because they were able to experience this week, these days around the islands, nature, and something moved, inside of their heart, inside of the brain, that they really want to be part of preserving these spots that we have. So Galapagos offers you so much, but also is a life-changing experience. Like for grown-ups, when grown-ups come here and we say, you have to bring your own water bottle because we're not going to give you plastic bottles. And they say, why? Are you crazy? Well, yeah, in Galapagos, we don't want plastic. So you better come with your water bottle. Otherwise, how are you going to drink water? Or we don't use straws. Actually, Galapagos has been one of the provinces that we've been very forward in terms of reducing the amount of plastic, because at the end, plastic ends up in our oceans, and that's what's killing all our wildlife there. Or you have, little kids looking at you, whether you are a male guide or a female guide, and they start following you, and they want to do what you're doing. So you just put them as your assistant. And at the end of the trip, they say, when I grow up, I want to be a guide like you. And that's when you say, all what I'm doing is worth it. Or when you have a mother saying, I wish when my daughter grows is going to be like you, Josy. It's like, what? Like, you are doing something very, very good for a mother to say that, right?
Yes.
And I'm not saying that because I want to brag about it, but it's the opportunity that you being a naturalist guide have in order to cause an impact in someone's mind, in someone's heart. So basically it's, conservation through interpretation. Conservation through interpretation, right? Because interpretation means creating something in between your ears, making something that moves in between your ears. So we want to create that in the people that comes here to the Galapagos, in order to be able to go back home and start little changes. Okay, I'm not going to use a plastic bottle anymore. So I'm going to carry my water bottle. And that's how many plastic you are reducing in your lifetime, right? It's a lot of plastic. So yeah, basically I was saying that I don't want to brag of what people tells me when I'm guiding, but what I want to tell you with this is the opportunity that you as a naturalist guide have in order to cause or to produce that thinking through the interpretation that hopefully will lead later on to conservation with the travelers that you have in a whole year.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So that's how we manage Galapagos and a little bit of the history of the islands.
I mean, if anybody listening to this doesn't want to go to the islands after hearing that spiel, I can't help them. I don't know what else could you possibly want in a trip. You have insane wildlife. It's beautiful. You have this gorgeous sun, the boats, amazing guides. Everybody's in it together. I mean, it was very real. Like, I watched you watching other groups. Other groups were definitely watching us, and especially being with a group of photographers, you definitely had your hands full because nobody wanted to move. And you're like, okay, people, let's go, let's go, let's go. You're like, vámonos.
Yeah.
No one was leaving. No, but it was very well regulated. And I highly respected that, especially being in other tourist destinations around the world and national parks where that doesn't happen. One animal sighting and it's just a swarm of trucks and people, and the Galapagos are special and everybody needs to go.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to add one more thing, I studied my master. I didn't mention that I studied my master degree. I got a scholarship, so I went 2 years to Spain to study management and planning of tourism, because one of my dreams have been always be to be the head of the Ministry of Tourism here, or to be the mayor of the city, because I want to really have this change and be a destination that offers excellent service. So I've always trained myself for that. That's why I went to the master degree program. And then the opportunity came 2 years ago that a guy that is in charge of another public institution, because those places are appointed, right? They're not voted or elected by the people. They appoint you. And said, Josy, would you like to be in charge of the Ministry of Tourism? So I was like, oh, what? That's what I've trained myself for. That's what I've wanted to be. Let me think about it. Because then you are in this conflict between you go to an office, sit there, and me being outside, right, doing the Chamber of Tourism, the Guides Association, participating in a lot of meetings, in a lot of lobbying. So I came to that conflict of, okay, I accept what I've always wanted to do, being in charge of the Ministry of Tourism, and that means leaving behind my guiding, what I want, right? And I thought I was not going to have a conflict when the moment came, but I did. So I told this guy, give me a day to think about it. And I thought about it. I went over the whole night. And the next day I says, no, I think, I've always wanted to be in charge of the Ministry of Tourism, but now, because I've been involved all these years, lobbying with them, lobbying with the municipality, trying to get projects working, I know how energy demanding those meetings are. After 3 years, you keep talking about exactly the same thing. And it's so hard to make changes if you don't get in the system, right? People say, but Josy, sometimes you have to do good things that are not aligned with your values for the greater good. And you say, I'm not sure if I'm able to do that. Like, accept things that are not aligned to my ethics, to my values, in order to get a bigger thing. So I thought about that. I say, and guiding, I have to leave the guiding behind, which is my conservation through interpretation. And you can see the changes in a matter of a week, or maybe later on when your guests write you back and you keep a relationship, a friendship with them, and telling you, hey, Josy, since my trip to the Galapagos, I have not used plastic bottles again, or, we're more conscious about this, we're more conscious about that. So it was this internal battle, this feeling of what is the best. And at the end, I choose keep guiding, keep guiding, keep being a naturalist, because I think I can produce a better impact and see faster results guiding than sitting on an office that you have endless and boring meetings. And maybe in 3 years from now, they're going to still discuss the same thing. So that was hard, that was hard. And then COVID came, that no guiding around. It's like, oh my gosh. But no, actually on December, I had 3 trips. I was one of the few lucky guys that we had 3 trips. I had 3 different boats, and it was amazing. And it was people mainly from the US. And I just love, right? I just miss so much that time of being on board, no signal. If the whole world collapses, who cares? You're there on the boat enjoying nature. And it's just a different world, It's like, I want to go and be on board of the boats, leading trips and meeting people, right?
And who knows, maybe that opportunity will come back around in a different phase of life when you are more ready for that, because you are so poised in the right position with your background, how active you are, your extensive education background. I feel like it's going to come around. I'm going to call you Mayor Josy from now on to manifest it. It's like Josy's going to be the mayor one day, and we're going to come visit her, and I'm just going to call you Mayor Josy. So this has been a fantastic conversation. I don't want it to end. We could just chat all day. But just to start to kind of reel it in a little bit, what asks do you have of anybody listening? Whether, and you can take that in whatever direction you want. Is there anything that you think there's a certain message you really want to get out there, or an action that people should do? What do you think from your experience?
Yeah, a message, being able to live, through COVID, right? And me here in the Galapagos, we really need, as humans, like, if you think you were not doing things totally right before, hopefully with all this COVID, you realize that there is a lot of ways to improve. But in terms of protecting nature is the only thing that is going to give us a quality of life, a better quality of life in the future, right? Because we're so lucky to live here in a natural area, to go out, to have fresh air. Yeah, we do have COVID around, but it's nature, it's clean, it's protected. And people that lost those natural areas, or you are on a city, you may be experiencing a different way what we're living here. But at the end, nature is the only thing that is there for us to make our lives better. Definitely. There is this beautiful video. I don't know if you saw the documentary of David Attenborough, Alive on This Planet. It's very interesting. Highly recommended that everybody watch
on
that.
This Planet. Yes. I cried.
Yeah. At the end, he says, if we're so selfish, okay, let's do it because we need it, right? Because at the end, everything comes to us. Let's take care of nature because we need it, which shouldn't be like that. At the end, it happens to be like this. So I hope it's not too late yet, right? To experience the world, go in these protected areas, national parks, and always think your impact over the place that you are going, and to reduce the impact. We're always going to have an impact, but just reduce it. Don't feel guilty. Just reduce it and do it in the best way possible in order to give back to nature what nature has been giving us until now. So that will be my message. COVID hopefully will pass at some point soon. Yeah, we in the Galapagos, we still have a hope, right? Come and visit us, or go to visit other destinations whenever you feel ready. But yeah, nature is so amazing with us. Nature has given us so much that we need to start giving back to nature. A little bit at least.
I couldn't agree with you more. That documentary was let's just say it was the final catapult to me actually launching Rewildology. And it even helped me name this podcast, was that particular documentary. It's incredible. If anybody hasn't watched it yet, it's on Netflix. It might even be on some other channels. I'm not sure, but yeah, Life on Planet Earth, I'm sure, but I think is what it's called. And it's David Attenborough's witness statement, as he says. I think that's what he calls it, of just his life being this traveling biologist and everything that he's seen around the world and how much he has seen. And so, yeah, Rewilding the Planet, that came from pretty much him on this. And so, yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because he was like the final oomph that got me over the hump to launch this podcast. So no, that's great, Josy. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, what is the best way? Is it through the hotel? Or if anybody's really inspired and wants to chat with you, what should they do? Should they get a hold of me? What do you think?
Yeah, my email address, you can write me an email or a WhatsApp. The email address is called Galapagito01 maybe the spelling sometimes is complicated there. Or you just browse GalapagosSuites.com, that's the hotel. Or my phone number +593 997 448110. We use WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal, anything that's easy for us. Yeah, I'm going to be here in the Galapagos leading trips. Hopefully we'll reactivate soon here in the hotel. Yeah, anything. Yeah, we're here for you, for all of you.
That's awesome, Josy. That's beautiful.
They can get a hold of you and then you get a hold of me.
Yes, that too. If anybody that as well can get a hold of me, I can easily connect them as well. So, but yeah, and stay at your hotel. If anybody wants to do some more land-based stuff, stay at Josy and her mother's hotel. I'm pretty sure I follow you on Instagram. It's so cute to see you too on there. So I know you're on Instagram. Yeah.
Recently I started with social media because I didn't know about Instagram. Now I know people set up dates in Instagram. Like, what are you doing using Instagram? You cannot go to someone and say, hey, let's go for an ice cream. So I just started with social media.
Oh, Josy, you're the best. But yeah, so if anyone go to the hotel, get a hold of Josy, you can connect through me. Either way, we'll make sure we'll get some people out to you and we'll continue chatting, and I would love to have another chat because I feel like, I had a whole slew of questions, and just like I assumed, we only got to like this many. So we'll do another one, and maybe like a follow-up on Barcode or something. So this has been amazing, Josy. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Brooke. Stay safe. Bye, everybody.
Hey, thanks again for listening to this episode of Rewildology. If you like what you heard, hit that subscribe button to never miss a future episode. Do you have a cool environmental organization, travel, story, or research that you'd like to share? Let me know at rewildology.com. Until next time, friends, together we will rewild the planet.